What's up, y'all? This is episode 5 of the Young Entrepreneur's Bible. My name is Eduardo Duran. I'm here with my co host, Mateo Del Aguila, and our amazing guest,
What
Andrés
up?
Bustamante.
Thank you.
So, Andres, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, something about your background. Where do you come from? What industry are you in?
For sure. And thank you guys for having me. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you for coming.
I got into UT Austin when I was 19. And I was doing college and whatnot like any other students. And really, the one thing that stood out to me was that I needed to find a way to pay for college when I was 19. So it's not like I feel like some people are fortunate enough to be able to have everything paid for and whatnot. So I needed to find a way to pay for college, and I knew that the typical 8 to 5, along with college, having college classes and whatnot, was going to be hard to do. So I said, you know what? What better way to start paying for college and everything if with real estate? So I started doing leasing, and I know that you do a lot of leasing, Ed,
Yeah.
and you've been doing great with that. And it was kind of a way to start the mindset of the fact that I don't have to stick with an 8 to 5 for my whole life, because it was more so with the work that I put in, I would get paid for that. And also, it was on my own time. So thankfully, I was able to do very well with that, pay for college, sold $1 million condo when I was 21.
Wow.
And then that opened my
Huge.
eyes to, yeah, to the fact that, it's not really about age. It's more so how confident are you in your abilities, and also how can you translate that with asking better questions. And then I graduated when I was 23. Still had a limiting beliefs about am I worthy of helping people buy or sell homes. I decided to stick with the real estate, even though a lot of people would tell me you should go to an 8 to 5 stable salary. And that's how life's going to be. A lot of people are going to tell you that you shouldn't be doing those things. Stuck with it. Now I have a team of agents, and we've been doing extremely well. We got the number one team last year, and I'm 26 right now. So that's kind of like a brief overview of what's been going on since I was 19.
So you said, are you worthy of helping people out? Talk about that thought process. What was going on through your head? Because it's very interesting to me.
It's very relatable, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there's still times when that happens.
of course.
And I've been able to help some of the Austin FC players, and it still comes up where I'm like, dang, am I worthy of doing this and that? But the thing I have figured out is that those questions are going to keep coming up. The thing that you have to do is show up for yourself and keep your word and follow through regardless of how you're feeling. Because the big thing here is sometimes whenever you set goals for yourself,
Hmm.
you're going to be motivated at first. It's going to be very exciting. And I mean, there's not always going to be those times when you're very excited, but it's all about that discipline to follow through. So with I'm not worthy, it was more so with me. You know what? I'm not thinking I'm worthy, but I'm gonna stick through. I'm gonna follow through with it. I'm gonna learn as much as possible. And once I started getting those reps in, I started being more confident in my abilities. Even though some days I didn't feel like it, it was more so when I followed through that I was like, okay, I'm feeling better. I'm more confident in what I can do, and I know my worth now.
Have you always felt like that throughout your life? I mean, they call it imposter syndrome, and I think everybody has it.
Oh,
But
for sure.
for
Yeah.
example, nowadays, what are the kinds of situations that you find yourself in where you think like, am I an imposter?
I would say so, sometimes with public speaking,
Okay.
whenever public speaking with students about wealth building and everything, it's like why should they learn from me? And then helping some of the soccer players for Austin FC, and then being part of groups where I'm like one of the leaders at 26. It's still considered young,
Yeah.
Or
and
like when you spoke at UT, or you came to a classroom, right? And like a
yeah,
professor.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like something like that. It's like, why am I qualified enough to do this? And
Yeah.
like I experience that every day. It's like when you first starting like leases, when you're a leasing agent, which you and I have that shared background, it's easy to feel like, do I know enough to like competently help somebody on the sales and purchase side of it, when the sale and purchase of a home is often their biggest investment they've saved up for a long time. It's a big deal. I've had the moment where I'm like, am I ready enough to help them with this? And I think you made a good point. It's not about your age. It's about like, one, you need to do your due diligence and like know how to do things, but it's having the confidence that like, I'm going to do this and I can do this. And I think that shifts at every level. Like if you're selling normal first time home buyers and you want to get into like a big commercial deal or a multi-mega million-dollar mansion, you might feel like, am I also worthy of this? And I think that bar is always going to be there. And it's just like having the mindset of like, there is no bar. I set my own bar wherever I want it.
100%. I
Yeah.
love that you touched on that. And one thing that definitely helps on that side of things is kind of having your own morning routine.
Mm-hmm.
Because a big factor in that is whenever I know a lot of friends that they get up and right away they're going to start work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the worst thing that you can do. Or also the night prior, it's like you're on your phone and it's all this blue light and just you go to sleep and the last thoughts that you had before going to sleep were those of being on your phone. So it's always about setting your phone aside, setting time for yourself, setting your goal the day prior, your top goal for the next day. And then when you wake up, in order to be the best version of yourself, you have to give yourself time. Like you meditate, you visualize, scribing, writing down your thoughts, your top 3 goals. I mean, for me, this is from 5:20 a.m. until 7:30 a.m. that I do like 2 hours of
Wow.
just my time. I go to the gym, I meditate, I visualize, scribe, and it's been a game changer. Game changer.
That's rare. I think that's one of the biggest things we want to talk about today is, lifestyle after you graduate. Our target audience largely is college students or young professionals. And I've seen it in a lot of my older friends and people that I know, like they graduate and they just have none of that. They wake up, they don't think the night before about what they're going to do the next day. They kind of just wake up and their whole day is based on reaction, not being proactive.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
they're just, you have an email, you're late to work, you're stressed, you chug some coffee, you're on the way, you look like crap, you're not
Feel
ready
like
for the
crap.
day. And then you're
Yeah.
just all day, like you have no time for anything you wanted to do because you're just dealing with what you're, like whatever the workplace demands of you. And then you get home, you just, you eat like crap, you don't work out, and then you end up on the couch watching Netflix and just repeat and repeat and repeat. And a lot of people do that when they
Yeah,
graduate. And
it's-
I think you're a great model of like
Thank
having
you.
a system, like engineering your lifestyle and like putting your phone away, having a morning routine. All you talk about, like, were you always like that? What was an inflection point that made you start, or how did you learn about like how did you craft your personal routine, and how have you honed it over the years?
That's a really good question. And the big thing for me was really kind of like those moments when you guys haven't graduated yet, but
Yeah.
think
Almost.
back. Yeah, almost, almost. Think back to a time when you're just like, you're back home in the summer and you just have time to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
So this is me. I had just graduated and I had like my dream offer. It was with JLL. It was an 8 to 5 financial analyst, and I was having a set salary.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just sold that $1 million condo, and I think I made like 30K, and it was amazing. I mean, as a 21-year-old, the first thing I bought was a keg for all my roommates.
Yeah, let's go.
For my boys. And then
Oh yeah.
I just graduated, so I'm like, do I want to go? It was kind of weird, but I'm so thankful. I read the Power of Now.
Mhm.
It talks about being present in the moment
Mhm.
because we're always thinking of the past and the future. And I was like, okay, I need to become present. I have this great offer. I know what I'm getting here, but then I also have this opportunity that there's not really a cap in real estate. I mean, you're killing it. You're going to earn much more than the person that's just sitting there not doing anything. And all my parents were saying, like, take the offer, stable, all my friends. And I said, you know what? No, I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to do real estate. And in order to be able to do real estate to the best of my abilities, I need to study the people that have been killing it in real estate. So that summer, I started listening to Bigger Pockets. I started seeing this is crazy. I'm remembering this right now. I was like 22 or 23. I started seeing what the habits that millionaires had. And I said, I need to be doing these things in order to perform to the best of my abilities. I read The Miracle Morning, and that changed my life
Mhm.
because that started getting me into the routine. And I started doing the routine. And at first, I was like, I hate it. I mean, there's days when obviously I'm like, I don't want to do this. I just know it's so important. And that's where you keep the discipline. But yeah, no, don't get me wrong. There were days when I'm like, I hate this. I hate this. But I followed through, and it's been incredible. And you were asking about if I've always had that. It's more so when I set a goal, I know I'm going to accomplish it. But the morning stuff and all in college, I did not do that. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's so different.
So run me through like your day. You said you wake up in the morning and you have these 2 hours to yourself. what are you doing in those 2 hours? And then what happens after
I
that?
love that question. I get excited. So
It sounds like it's a science. Like it.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane. So I usually go to sleep. I feel like a grandpa. I go to sleep from between like 9 and 10 p.m.
Mhm.
So I know. In college you say that, and I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna do that. That's what I'm starting my homework. So I usually go to sleep between 9 and 10 p.m. This is all on my calendar. I can even show you guys after. And then I wake up at 5:15.
Mhm.
I do my bed right away. You want to get those small wins. There's a book called Do Your Bed, and this guy came to UT Austin
McRaven.
actually to speak. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he
The
came.
Admiral.
Yeah, exactly. And at 5:15, I do my bed. That's a win for me. I get to the gym like at 5:25 a.m. I do an hour workout. I get home. I take a cold shower. I hate the cold shower, but I take a cold shower because you start getting used to situations where you're a bit stressed.
Yeah.
And if you can act with the stress, you're better on your feet. That's for me is one of the big benefits of a cold shower because I hate it. It's kind of counterintuitive. But so I do the cold shower, then I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes. Then I visualize the best version of myself that day. And I visualize, like today, visualizing having a great podcast. And then it's kind of funny, but I do my check marks and I check today off as I had a great podcast. Instead of after it, I do it before to already be that person that
Wow.
was able to like give the audience a great podcast.
It's working.
Yeah.
You know,
There we
so
go.
thank you. So you get yourself like into that mindset. So it's visualize, and then I do affirmations. I am statements. I am becoming statements, and then after that it's scribing.
Mhm.
So writing down my thoughts, because sometimes I feel like anxious, anxiety. Sometimes I feel like I said, I'm not worthy, and I want to know like why am I thinking that instead of just leaving it in my head. Like what's the reason? And then after that, I read. I love reading. Love reading. I used to not read in college though, so it's been a big change. Then I read, and then afterwards, that's when I really kind of like maybe just get a small bit of breakfast or something, or just directly go into script practicing. And then I start cold calling. And then I do like real estate is just all over the place. So I show houses, I send offers, I negotiate deals, do podcasts. But that's usually like the morning routine.
And when are you done by on most
Usually
days?
it's around like 7:30.
Wow.
So 5:20 to 7:30.
So you get about like 4 hours to yourself, 2 in the morning, 2 at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think for myself personally, as I've gotten busier, I've missed that time that I used to have for myself. And so now I find myself falling into bad habits, trying to make up for that time. I haven't honestly like I haven't been sleeping as well this semester. I've been sleeping really late because I'm like on my phone late at night looking at TikToks just because like I like have been working all day. I'm super tired. I just want to like I just want some time for myself.
For sure.
And
yeah.
I think it's counterintuitive for me, but I don't think it's in a good way because like taking a cold shower in the morning, I think that's a great thing. It's getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
For sure.
And a lot of people like to stay in their comfort zones, but you need to get out of it. I don't do that, but I think I'm going to start now.
yeah.
I do a lot of that seek discomfort kind of thing. So when you were saying that, like I take ice baths. My girlfriend got me a
Nice.
little like
Nice.
portable
I've seen that. Yeah.
insulated Ner cover. Sponsor me, but we
Was
got
that
the. And then I had a friend of mine. I was buying ice, and it was like $10-12 a day, and I was like, it's not sustainable. So then I had a friend who had torn his ACL, and he had to take a lot of ice baths, and he gave me best tip ever. It was get a 30-pack of water bottles, and I would just refreeze them, and they're my ice cubes. So like
a
I
30-pack of water bottles?
yeah, like plastic
Oh, yeah,
Ozark,
yeah,
and
okay,
I
yeah.
just they're in my freezer. I don't eat a lot of frozen food anyway, a health grind, but I just have like the water bottles, and I go up to my rooftop pool so I don't spend my utilities. I have a bucket.
Smart, man.
I fill it up, and then I just throw my ice water bottles in there, and I take my ice bath. I do my Wim Hof breathing stuff.
Yeah, Wim Hof's
Dude, it's if you've never done that before, it'll make you feel like it's crazy. It's like it's not even like you're on. It like it just elevates your state of being.
Can we
for
do a
some reason.
demonstration? I've never heard of
No,
this before.
it takes a few minutes, but it's
Okay.
just aggressive. Like it's just like
Yeah,
rhythmic
it's-
inhales and exhales, and it like it does something to the oxygenation of your blood, or I don't know what the science specifically is, but it like when you finish it, you feel like so at peace and so present. And I don't know if you've done that specifically, but
Yeah.
if I thought it was a whole gimmick, and I just tried it one day, and I was like shook. I was like, no way, like that felt
Wim Hof
crazy.
that guy's insane.
It felt
He
crazy.
climbs mountains with like shorts and shirtless and
Yeah.
insane guy.
Yeah, but the seeking discomfort thing I think is very important. And a lot of people don't understand it, but I think that there's a huge value in like seeing a task that you just clearly don't want to do, and it takes a little bit of crazy to be like, that's why I'm going to do it. And if you can push through that barrier, it kind of conditions you to like, you're in the workplace and there's something that comes up, like, cold calling 100 people, you're like, I don't want to do
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And it's like,
I
well,
don't
your brain
like
is
it.
kind of used to like breaking those barriers because you do the cold shower every day. Or David Goggins talks about this a lot. Like he flips a tire a mile, just flips the tire over and over. It's like, it sucks. I
Insane.
don't want to do it, but it trains your brain to like overcome adversity, and it gets used to doing things it doesn't like to do. And I think it's like it's like building a callus on your brain and your willpower to do stuff. And I think that's really valuable.
So important. I love that you touch on that because it's just always been discipline over motivation. So what is your big why that you're going to keep going through even if you don't feel like doing something, to where you're like, dang, I have to do this so because my why is stronger than my I don't want to do this. So that's one big thing I feel like after college was just how am I going to be able to wake up in the morning and just do all these cold calls and do all these things. And it was like, well, if you have a big enough why, you look back at that and you're like, yes, I have to do it because of that.
So what's your why?
My why, that's a really good question. And my
You
why
just
for
posted
me-
that a few days, right? It was Diego
Yeah,
posted.
Diego,
Yeah, I
yeah.
saw
and,
it.
and the important thing here is that it keeps changing, you know?
Uh-huh.
So the big thing for me, my big why, and it's coming up, well, not pretty soon, but I want to, in my 30s, be able to decide when I want to work as opposed to have to work,
Mhm.
and be able to travel with my friends and family. And also, this is one big thing that I think, well, I can already do it, but I want to be able to take my parents to Arsenal games. I'm a huge Arsenal fan. Huge
Huge.
Arsenal fan. And I remember my dad, 2008, he took me for my birthday. And like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. So I want to be able to buy a house in London to like tell him, whenever you guys want, you guys have a house here, and I am a season ticket holder for Arsenal FC. So that's also on my visions board. Like, it's funny, but it's like a seat, and I'm seeing the stadium. That's on my visions board. And then also a house in London. So my big why is like being able to take, whenever I'm able to take my dad to that game, I'm going to be so excited.
Yeah.
And then being able to choose when to work, and who to work with. Because I have had some clients that are just
Yeah.
yeah, it's not
Everybody
that
everybody
fun,
has.
yeah.
So it really seems to me like you are the type of person that believes in the power of positive affirmation or like manifestation. Would
There-
you agree?
I would say there's a difference. A lot of affirmations are I am a millionaire, but if you're saying you're a millionaire, you already know that you're not, and it kind of works a different way. So you need to be more so like I am becoming the person that is a millionaire
Mhm.
instead of I am already this person. It's hard because affirmations, a lot of people do the I ams, but it doesn't really work like that. And yes, I am a positive person, but then there's also moments to know when to kind of like let things take a toll, not a toll, but just let them ground.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of positivity, yes, I agree, okay, that can be important, but sometimes you need to understand that it's not always about being positive. You need to be with your emotions. You need to write things down. You need to be able to talk to people. So it's all about more so the energy that you can put out to others, you know? And being positive, yes, I am positive, but like I said, there's times when it's like, all right, I need to be with myself and I need to kind of let my emotions go for a bit.
So what about tips for productivity during the workday?
Tips for productivity during the workday. I would say the big thing here is do not have your phone with you, and do like increments of maybe 30 minutes, and then you check your phone for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys have not read Deep Work by Cal Newport, amazing book that really talks about the fact that we did not even have to do an 8 to 5. It's more so we could do 8 to 12. But if we didn't check our emails, if we didn't have our phones, if we didn't have those mini distractions, then you would be way more productive from 8 to 12. So the big thing for me is when I have a task, firstly, it starts with the day before. I know what task I have to do. And then in the morning, I write the other tasks that I have to do. And my top 3 tasks, those are my priorities. So anything that does not help me achieve those top 3, I'm not going to be doing. So then I do, okay, maybe an hour of this, but I have my phone over here. And kind of my win for sticking with that hour is being able to use my phone.
Mm-hmm.
So, it kind of gets you excited to be able to use it or see it or whatever. But if you have your phone, you're checking emails and all, that is the worst thing that you can do. It's horrible because I do it sometimes.
Especially
Yeah.
in a field like real estate, especially
Yeah, it's a double-edged
where
sword.
you're
Independent
constantly at the
contractor.
service of your client. It's like it's a fine balance between like being able to, you have to be on your phone a lot in being in real estate, answering emails, taking, calls, texts. So I agree, like me, like especially since I'm a student as well, I get real scatterbrained of I have school and then I open up Canvas, which is what we use at UT.
Yeah.
I'm on Canvas and then I'm on Gmail and then I'm on my CRM and I'm on like the MLS or whatever, and it's just like I have a phone call comes up and then I tell someone I'm going to do something and then I go and check an email and I get distracted and then it becomes overwhelming. You get nothing done. And I think my thing that I resonate with is like having being able to like take a step back the night before and kind of like make a game plan so that you can be like proactive with your day and not just reactive. And I don't know where I read about that, but I think like being able to be intentional about what you're doing instead of just switching and switching and switching, like it's not the way the human brain is most effective. And you just like the 8 to 12, I think is really true. Like you can do a whole 8-hour day in 4 if you just
Oh,
actually stuck to
100%.
it.
Well, they say the majority of people's productivities in the office is in those first 4 hours. After lunch, your
Probably,
productivity
yeah.
goes way down. You usually don't do much. But I think to dial it back to like what you were saying about the scatterbrainedness, like that's in my opinion a natural trait of an entrepreneur. I like to
Kinda.
think that like we all have ADD. I am undiagnosed ADD, and I feel like knowing you for a while as your friend, I think I can say you're undiagnosed ADD too. And I don't know about you. I've just obviously we just met, but I feel like over time you probably would display some qualities. But I think we need to be like that because we have so many things to focus on that your average person just focuses on one task. But for me, I can never think of just the one thing I'm working on.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of what comes after that and then what comes after that, all while I'm doing one thing. I feel like if people watch how I work just like on my laptop, my girlfriend tells me all the time, like, she like throws up just seeing me work because she thinks it's disgusting. I'm just going everywhere and doing
Multitasking
everything.
and everything.
Always, I have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do that once in a while. I've just felt like it has helped so much to be able to dial in on one thing and then
Yeah.
let's do the next thing and the next thing. Because, yeah, no, I've done that before, especially when I was leasing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I had to pick up all the keys and then where are you gonna tour and then your head is like,
Current
oh, is
tenants
it gonna go
también.
what
Oh,
seats?
dude,
It's
dude,
crazy.
it's a lot. It's a
A
lot.
lot to do, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I guess we should take a chance to pivot. One of the biggest things that I think you can kind of give our audience would be the wealth building talk. Um, I know you had a pretty lucrative college career in terms of leasing and having a job. A lot of students don't really have that opportunity, but when you get out of college, if hopefully you have something lined up, you're starting to get money in the bank. What tips do you have to shaping your lifestyle to live a modest and below your means, or what kind of tips do you have to start getting that that savings account looking nice so you can go ahead and invest it? And how would you advise that real estate is your domain? Why is real estate the place to go for wealth building?
For sure. And the big thing here, I would say, is really looking at your finances. I don't do this as much. It has helped when I do it, though. So looking at your finances with someone, an accountability partner, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe once every month, and kind of updating like that, like as in this is how much I'm going to save, this is going to taxes, and allocating brackets for each thing, and then you having your accountability partner with that. Because if your goal is, look, it does not have to be real estate. I'm in real estate and I love real estate. And it's been amazing. And I'll talk about the story of buying my first house as well. But it doesn't have to be real estate. It's more so you want to build a passive income that then supplies your lifestyle that you have. So you need to have a number that's like, this is my number to be a 100%er. So let's say, for example, I need to make, well, I do have this on my notebook. It's about $4,200 a month to be able to cover my living expenses, to be able to do everything that I do on a daily. So that 4,200, once I reach that in passive income, which is through real estate or through stocks or whatever, that's when I'm a 100%er. So I don't really have to work because all my passive income, my houses are giving me enough rent to cover all of that. So that's the big thing. Look into your finances. What's your big number that will make you a 100%er? And then with that, you can really decide what is it going to be through. For me, it's real estate because I was like graduating college. I said, what's the biggest expense? And obviously it was rent. I was paying like $1,000. Now in Austin, it's absurd. It's even more. So I was paying rent. So how can I offset that? And thankfully, from the house that I had closed, I had enough money to be able to get a down payment. But a lot of college students will not have that. And that's the beauty of being smart. There's a lot of things that you can do even if you don't have the money. And I don't want to get too into it. It's going to be confusing, but it's known as seller financing. Or you have your parents gift you the money. And the value you offer is that you're the property manager. But let's get into the story of how I bought my first house. So I was like, oh, I need to find a way to cover my rent. So I bought a 4 beds, 3.5 baths. I lived 3.5 baths home. I lived in one room and rented out the others. My mortgage, yeah, exactly, house hack. My mortgage, which is what I had to pay the bank every month, was about $2,100. I don't even know what it was. And from the rents I got for each of the 3 rooms, that was like $2,300. So I was living for free in one room, making about $200 of passive income. And it was amazing. I was living there with 3 of my really good friends and making money for doing that. Yeah. And now I've bought several other houses, and those also give me passive income. But I mean, the thing is, if you live in the house, you get to put a down payment as low as 3%, 3 to 5%. That's a big benefit. And then the monthly payments, well, if you can cover most of it with your roommates, that's even better.
So the 3 to 5% that you're talking about, can you get into that a little more? Because I know what you're talking about, and Edit and I have talked about that a lot of times, and I think it gets brought up, but I think there's a caveat that people don't explain when they're talking about like the FHA loans.
Yeah, so it's either a conventional loan, which is typically your loan. If you have a 620 plus credit score, that's the loan that you use. I could talk so much about this. I'm not going to make it confusing. Yeah. Then there's the FHA loan. That FHA loan, you can only use it if you're an owner occupant, meaning that you live in the house for at least a year. The down payment for that is 3.5%. Now, the reason that loan's a thing and a lot of people like to use that is because of the fact that it's a government insured loan. So with that, they allow you to have a lower credit score, about 500. If it's 500, you do have to put 10% down though. Now, the big thing with FHA that a lot of people love is that you can buy a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex. So a duplex is like 2 houses next to each other. So instead of living in the same house with your roommates, you live in one house and you rent out the other. So you have that separation. Now, the big thing is if you had the typical loan, conventional loan for a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, you have to put 15% down minimum. With the FHA, you can do 3.5% on a duplex, triplex, fourplex.
So why don't more people use the FHA loans?
Well, because they might be buying a single family house, and the FHA has something known as PMI, mortgage insurance. I actually did a video on TikTok about it, and it got like 3 million views. Insane. And that stays for the life of the loan. It's like insurance because a lender is like, oh, you have probably a lower credit score. Yeah. So I need to have some insurance, and this is a monthly payment you have to make for the life of the loan. That is one thing about the FHA that some people don't like. But it's always about the numbers. It's not like if you're going to submit an offer. If you have a bad realtor that doesn't ask you questions and doesn't ask you to like look at the lender documents before submitting an offer, that's horrible. That would suck. So anytime we submit an offer, I'm always like, look at these payments. Is this something that you're satisfied with? Pretend you're not going to have roommates. Put yourself in that situation. Are you still satisfied with that? Expectations are so important. So it's all about, if people knew what they were getting into
Yeah.
with the FHA, the conventional, then way more people would be doing that.
And that's a tip from Andres.
Let's get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so that's the big thing. House hacking can be amazing with wealth building, which we were talking about. That the big thing with wealth building is the fact that appreciation is a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Never speculate on appreciation,
Mm-hmm.
but know that it's not just about the passive income. It's also really about kind of the lifestyle that you're now setting with the fact that you have that passive income and also the tax strategies. A lot of people, you'd be surprised, do not pay taxes because of the fact that they have real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something known as depreciation, where you can offset your taxable income with house. And I've done that. Like, dude, no joke. I should have paid so much more in taxes. And I'd use depreciation, and I have an S corp, and it is insane with how real estate or how just being savvy about these things can just save you a lot of money and make you a lot of money.
Yeah. I think one thing, like, for example, with people that are minorities or immigrants in this country, specifically like Latino people, is they are very risk averse, especially
Sure.
to debt. But they don't understand that you can leverage your debt to build up your net worth, help you build your credit and things like that. And I think that's something very, very important. For example, like, my dad has always told me, buy things in cash. He's like, all the things I
Dave
own,
Ramsey.
The Dave Ramsey method.
he's like, all the things I
David Ramsey.
own are paid in full. Like, I don't owe anybody money. I don't have to worry about that cloud over my head. But he's a little old school in that manner, and I try and tell him, Dad, like, debt's not a bad thing if you're using it right.
Correct.
And you know how to be in debt.
If you're
There's good
wise
and bad
about it.
debt though. Like
Exactly.
credit card debt, not good. But
Yeah.
like, and even then, like, some people overexpose themselves to good
course.
debt, and then they have a bunch of arms or whatever adjustable rates, and then they get screwed, and then they go like Dave Ramsey had that. He was a mega millionaire at 25. He had a bunch of real estate debt, which is labeled as good. But like, if you don't do your due diligence, if you're not, you don't want to. You can also have too much good debt and
Within
like
your
expose
means.
yourself.
Yeah.
And then something happens in the market, and you just even like what we're kind of experiencing now, people, I know people who've gotten screwed over because they had a bunch of those, and they've adjusted and they track like the interest rate or whatever, and it's just their payments are way higher now and they can't afford it.
Variable rate. The big thing with that is really, what are my expectations? And if you get a fixed rate, you know what you're going to have to pay on a monthly basis. And also know that typically rent is recession proof.
Yeah.
But you have to have other strategies. So maybe it's like, okay, you know what? If the long-term rental isn't working, and you won't really see rents go down. That hardly ever happens. So you already know, this is my baseline. Let's just say it goes down $200. Am I still covering my mortgage right now?
Mhm.
Okay, yes, then it makes sense. But also I know that I have a short-term rental, or I can do a medium-term rental. So you need to have 2 to 3 strategies. And I always tell my clients, when you're looking to, you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. And that's very important to note. Also, with the fact that whenever you buy, you need to also see that resale potential with anything that you buy. And I also agree, my parents are Latino and they're very like debt averse. It's just about being smart with it.
Yeah.
And also with debt, it's all about you're leveraging that to see your return on investment, because it's all about your return. How much are you putting in? How much do you get out? That's when you're smart about using debt smartly.
So you said when you bought your first house, the first thing you bought was a keg for your friends.
When I sold the first house.
Sorry, sold the first house.
Yeah.
What was the second thing that you kind of splurged on yourself with?
Dude, I went and celebrated. I was so excited. But I also remember that day or those days, I put in so much work because this is me. I get a random call from a stranger. Picture yourself getting a call from a stranger. And it's kind of like those calls where you're like, is this a scam? Because the guy was in that like rich voice. He was like, Andres, I'm looking at buying $1 million to $3 million property. And I was just like, I was in the Castilian cafeteria and I had to stand up It's like I was with my roommates,
You're like, yo, boys.
and I was like, my friend saw my face. Wait, you're saying like rent $1,000 to $3,000 house, right? He's like, no, I'm looking to buy. So I was just like imposter syndrome right away, and I said yes, I can help you. And then I hung up, and I was like, damn, why did I say yes?
What do I do now?
Yeah, but I had to learn the whole week, like everything, and there were still things that I didn't know, but I took that chance, and so I sold that $1 million property and made like 30,000. But you asked me the second thing. I forgot what you asked.
Second thing you splurged on yourself.
Oh, I mean, I was just like I said, I was just so excited about that, and I think I went to Cane and Naples with some friends or something.
Yeah.
But no, that was so interesting because I did not expect it, you know. But I had been putting myself in uncomfortable situations to where, you know, what if it comes? That's great. And
Yeah.
I was somewhat prepared, not that prepared, but I was like, okay, I can do this because I said yes and then I figure it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's a big entrepreneurial thing is like at every level you'll eventually be exposed to or offered an opportunity that you believe is beyond your means, and that imposter syndrome kicks in at that point, and it can be from leases to making a sale, or from making a sale to syndicating a huge apartment complex, or developing your first property, like building it. And I think there's always going to be that like that threshold's always present, and it's kind of like the saying yes, committing, and then figuring it out after, but not being too irresponsible where you say yes to doing something that's completely, unreasonable. And I think it's kind of like I don't know if it's luck or skill or what, but like the great entrepreneurs they're always ready to. I think entrepreneur literally means to grasp. I read that somewhere, and it's being able to grasp the opportunity and to figure out the how after.
Yes,
And
for sure.
and there's a quote that's like, if your why's big enough, the how doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think if your goal and your zeal is large enough, like you didn't know how to sell the house, or like, and $1 million is not a beginner home, so it's like I don't know what to do, what's happening. Going from leases, you don't have to worry about inspectors or appraisers or anything, and I've gone through that process too, and I kind of had that whole frenzy of like, what's happening? I don't want to let them down. I don't know. I don't want to taint my reputation. Am I good enough to do this right now? Should I wait? I want to study. And it just kind of had a moment of like, screw it, like, yes, and then figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And I think
love that's incredible.
that keeps happening. No matter how big you get, I think that just continues to happen.
It'll never stop. It's just more so you're more prepared for it, and
Yeah.
you've had the reps.
So I think a really big and also another really important part of business and entrepreneurship in general is mentorship,
Oh,
and
that's
having
huge.
someone to show you the ropes.
Yeah.
Did you have
Yes.
a mentor?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's been a game changer. Have you met Diego?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Not like personal, not
We're
like coffee type thing, but all the events that we go to.
We should do we definitely have to like get a lunch or something.
Yeah.
I want you to really meet him. He's amazing. Diego Corzo, he's my mentor. And Victor Nino, two of my business partners, incredible people. I wouldn't be where I am right now without that. Mentorship is huge. Also, obviously taking action. I took massive action. But the mentorship, I think that's the cheat code to just killing it with whatever you do in life. Having a mentor has helped me so much. They've made, I don't like calling these things mistakes. It's more so lessons. And they've had lessons to where they have to pay money out of their pocket. I've had lessons. I had a $50,000 lesson one time, and I paid it out of my pocket. And do you know who Cody Sanchez is?
Yeah.
So with her, and we helped her buy a house, and she's like this huge entrepreneur. She's amazing.
Yeah.
And we had an agreement with the selling agent over the phone, and we didn't put it in writing. Option period ends, which is when these deposits go hard, and we didn't have it in writing. So we made it work. We paid $50,000 out of our pocket, but with mentorship, I learned so much because I think I would have done a lot of things that were not the right way to do these things. Not badly or anything, but more so I just didn't know how to do it, and I kind of skipped a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's
And-
like that offers you a shortens the learning curve.
Yeah, and then just the people I've surrounded myself with, the elevated thinking now, the mindset thing's huge as well.
So what would you tell like a younger version of yourself, or just like a young young men in general interested
I
in
love that. Yeah.
entrepreneurship, trying to find a mentor, how do you find a mentor? Because I know obviously I have my tips, but I want to hear from you.
Well, I think the big thing is let's start with before the mentor thing. If I could go back and tell myself something, I wish I would have been like to embrace fear more,
Yeah.
because I think a lot I would take some risks, but and I consider myself like a pretty sociable person,
Mhm.
but I also wish it's like take fear more into account, and also don't allow the way that people see me, my friends see me, to dictate how you act around them.
Mhm.
Because a lot of my friends were like, "Oh, Andres is the funny, crazy guy that has a lot of crazy parties and everything." And sometimes I was like, "Dude, I don't feel like doing that," but I felt like that's how my friends saw me, so I had to act like that,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And now it's like, look, you need to be present with yourself. How are you feeling? To have those moments to just be with yourself. I wish I could have told myself that. And also the embracing fear. There were moments when I was like, no, I can't do this just because I don't want to, but it was more so because I was scared. So I wish I would be like embrace fear more, because trust me, what's on the other side of fear is amazing. Like once you take the chance, you feel so fulfilled. Like I love doing those things now. I still get scared with stuff, but sometimes now I see it as I have to do it now because I know that I will grow with that.
Yeah.
Whenever I think of fear, if fear happens, it's an indicator that I need to be doing that. So that's how I switched the mindset. And then you said to have a mentor. Dude, people that are listening that are in college, that's the cheat code. You're in college, you're young. The fact that you're young and you go up to someone that you want to learn from, they're going to get so excited for you.
Mhm.
That's the big thing. Just going out there. Like, for example, if someone would come to my office and be like, Andres, I saw your social media and I saw this and that. These are things that you can do to improve them. And I've already done this for you here. I would be like, dude, come shadow me. I would get so excited with that. But a lot of people think it's like, oh, you're going to be a burden. No, just show up. And the fact that, how old are you?
22.
22.
22 in like 7 days.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
good.
still-
I'm
Nice.
27 in March 28th, so we have
Yeah,
somewhat
happy
similar
birthday.
birthdays.
Or
Thank
happy
you.
early
Soon.
birthday.
But that's, I think, for young people, I mean, I'm still young, but relative to you guys, is, dude, go to their office and show the value that you can bring to them without them even asking.
Mhm.
Find a solution to a problem they have. And trust me, you will be able to shadow that person. And that person, they will be excited because older people love mentoring younger people.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
I think a really important aspect to it too is one is like loyalty, but two is also just like being being ready to take on anything they throw at you,
Yeah.
and just grinding.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I hate using that word sometimes, but you have to show that like you're there to learn,
That's
to make
massive.
a
Yeah.
difference, to be like to give it your all.
Take initiative.
Take initiative,
It's
of
very
course.
important. And yeah, saying yes to whatever they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question about that. I think in the search, a lot of young people, if not all of them, would like to have a mentor, and a lot of people recognize the power in having one. I think one of the biggest limiting beliefs in obtaining one is, like you said, someone shows up to your office and gives you something useful, or even if they don't show up with something useful, they offer to, like, you know, a lot of people think it needs to be a two-way road, and I think in some ways, would you agree? Like you can't expect someone to just give you and give you and give you if you don't like use what they're saying, or if you don't bring them any value. How would you suggest that, like, a young person who's in college be able to, do you think they need to provide some kind of value? Like, would they need to come with that solution to one of your problems, or can they just come to you and be like, "Hey, Andres, I saw you on TikTok. You're killing it. I want to do what you do." Maybe that's enough to, like, start the relationship, but do you think there needs to be a point where they get something out of the, it's a mutually beneficial thing?
It can be both ways, but your chances of getting that person's attention is miles, miles higher than if it's just like, because I've gotten people send me that, like on TikTok or Instagram and everything. And I'm like, dude, yeah, I can help you. Let's get on a call. 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And if they don't answer after, dude, I'm like, I've had it so many times where I'm like, yes, I can help you. And then I don't see any initiative. And it pisses me off, even though I should just
Mhm.
be like detached. But I'm like, dude, I want to help you, and then I don't see any initiative. So the thing that you were asking, both can work. One of them, the chances of it succeeding is way higher though. And what I would say also, coming from the mentor side, it's scary to be able to ask that person and everything. But because with Diego, when I called him, I was nervous. I heard him on a podcast and I just cold called him. I could have probably done it better, but hey, it worked. Now look where I am. He's one of
Yeah.
my best friends now. I love the guy. And it was like taking that chance, you know? But, oh, yeah, I mean, having the mentor is just, it's been such a game changer.
Yeah.
I love that you guys touched on that because it's so important.
Yeah, and follow up. You got to make sure you follow up.
Yeah,
It's important.
I mean, follow up or just, I mean, the conversation you have with that person, you'll find things that they might need help with. And if without that person asking, maybe three days later, instead of following up, it's like, what can I help with? Is more so you follow up purposefully. And you're like, look, I remember you were talking about this. That also shows you were listening. I remember you talking about this. I found the solution right here, this and that. And I was actually able to get you in contact with this person. That's when it's like, damn,
That's huge.
that's massive. Yeah.
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 So be purposeful of your follow up, because a lot of people is like, hey, I'm following up. I'm checking in.
It's like, with what?
Yeah, dude, I still do that sometimes. So it's not like if I'm perfect or anything. No, by no means. It's just that these things I've learned because I probably have done them the wrong way, you know? So it's the way you do things, you know, is just probably a big indicator of how you'll be doing. How you do small things is probably how you're going to be doing the larger things.
So is there any last tidbits of information that you want to leave people with before you go?
I would say a lot of the audience is still in college and all that stuff. I would say 100% if you can start with internships, in terms of like, if you want to be a doctor, that takes about, I don't know how long, maybe 8 years,
Like 10.
12,
Too long.
10, too long. Yeah, exactly. I don't even know. I honestly, I would not do that for myself, obviously, because I'm in real estate. But it's like, look, if you want to do that, make sure you at least have an internship to where instead of maybe those 8 years, and I've had friends that do 8 years and they find out they don't like it. It's probably the worst thing that can happen, because it's like, dang, that was 8 years of my life.
Yeah.
It's not wasted because you learned from that. But I mean, if you can be smarter about it, have an internship or do something about it, get out of your comfort zone as well. That's so important, because at this age, you can take risks. You know, at this age, oh my gosh, you can take so many risks. And like we were talking about mentors, if there's someone you look up to and they're in your city, go knock on their office, knock on their door, give them a call. Worst thing that they can say is no. Because if, like, for example, you're thinking of getting into luxury real estate, find the top luxury agent, give them a call. You tell them what you've done before you solve a problem, and you tell them your age, they'll probably want to help you out.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't have to be real estate. It can be anything. But internships for those things that you think you're going to love, massive, and that's crucial, because it will help you really see if you actually like it. In school, we're really taught, like, being book smart and all. I'm not a big fan of the school system.
Me neither.
And
Same.
I was in Macombs, and I learned how to be more so street smart, like from the people I met, from going out, from being part of orgs, having to organize things, because it's never going to go as you think it is going to go. And dude, honestly, I didn't really learn anything at all in school, in terms
Same.
of my classes.
Yeah.
What I learned more so was the power of your network, the power of asking better questions, and just those things that you don't expect and you learn on the fly. So I would say yes, what you see in school probably will not be what you'll be doing. So make sure you get that experience in real life.
Awesome.
That's great
super
advice.
valuable. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You want to close us out?
Yeah, I think that concludes the 5th episode of the Young Entrepreneur's Bible. Thank you for coming on and sharing all those golden nuggets.
Yeah.
I know I got a few. I'm sure we got tons, and
Totally.
you got millions. So check out the video and our page for more.
Plug yourself before we go real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so TikTok and Instagram, it's Andrés Busta, TX, ANDRESBUSTATX.
All right. Thank you for coming on, Andres.
Of course.
Hook 'em horns, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.